Talents and recruiting. Of course, your organization wants to win the best talent. And just recently, just this week, meaning last week, we had Europe's largest fair, Europe's largest trade fair and expo for exactly that topic. How to find the best talent, how to win the best talent, how to retain the best talent, how to develop the best talent. The Future Talent in Cologne. I was there giving 10 speeches. I was booked there as a speaker. Also had more than 40 appointments. Highly interesting times, to say the least. I really saw everything from absolutely progressive and amazing recruiting to quite the opposite. And now we have to talk about how to actually get the best talent in your organization. We all know that you want to have the right talent, the best fit for you. However, how do you deal with all the challenges on the market? And first, let's look into what we have right here. Error number one, which I still see, is you do too much by yourself. I give you a very simple example. When you say HR is doing all the recruiting, HR is very busy with daily business. And on top of that, you tell them to write job ads while they are not professional writers, put pictures in there while they are not professional photographers or graphic designers, probably do video editing for all the job ads you want to put out there with videos, and then work through everything following from there technically by themselves on the platforms where you want to put the job ads out there. And surprise, that doesn't work too well. The reason for that is very, very simple. HR has enough to do, and there are professional agencies that can take care of your job ads and your whole campaigning for talent. And by the way, when you now go for the excuse, oh, we're not big enough for that, or you say we are big enough, we can do all that by yourself, or you simply say we don't have any money for that, I can tell you, when you put bad job ads out there, you have to put them out there 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and these job websites are making a fortune out of you. There's a reason why, for example, just Stepstone in Europe has nearly €500 million of revenue with a very high profit. So you see, there is enough money in the market. However, you're wasting it when you do everything by yourself. Of course, when you now say, hey, I don't know which agency to use, I'm happy to recommend an agency to you, but I keep my podcasts here advertising free. So just drop me an email, then I'm going to tell you more about that. If you do everything by yourself, that is problem number one. You need professional job ad agencies and marketing agencies for that. For a very, very simple reason. So first, do not go for a general marketing agency. They will, of course, say they can help you because they want to take your money. They can't. You speak to professional job marketing agencies because they purchase job ads in advance, usually up to 150,000 a year. They get huge discounts. And for the huge discounts they receive, they offer you additional services. So they do all the texting, they do all the writing, they do all the checks about legal stuff, etc. They do all the picturing and everything with the pictures. They put everything online. They know all the technical details. They know everything where to put the job ad. They know all the switches to which they have to switch on or off. They know how to properly track that, and they know how to do reporting that you need. All of that is what an agency does for you. Do not do it by yourself. You're wasting money left, right, and center, because due to the discounts they receive on job ads, you usually pay the same or even less compared when you go to a job website directly. So aspect number one, you do what you can do by yourself when you are professionally trained to do that. And professionally trained means you have the professional qualification. You do not feel entitled or you have the experience or whatever people say. When you learn it professionally, and by the way, these are jobs. When you are a professional graphic designer, go for it. When you are a professional writer, go for it. But when you're not, and most likely you won't be, then don't do it. Give it to a professional agency. That's aspect number one. Aspect number two, and here I especially have to talk to what's happening in the English-speaking world. Aspect number two is the application process. It has to be modern, it has to be target-oriented, it has to be quick. And I just give you the process very briefly here. When the application arrives, so first, people get an auto response that the job ad arrived. And hint for you, people have a right to an answer to a job ad. Not answering gives any applicant the right to tear you apart online. It's Kununu, it's Glassdoor.com, it's any internet website that deals with jobs where they can say your company isn't even able to answer a job ad. When you do not answer job ads, you failed on beginner's level. And by the way, when you say, oh, we don't have the technical means, so first, there's software for that. And second, an autoresponder for an email is available for any free GMX email account. So maybe just get a grip of tech. So first, the applicant puts their application into your system, let's say via email or via your job system. Immediately after they send everything, they get a confirmation via email that everything arrived. Then, from there, the first personal contact with the applicant must be within 72 hours or less. And 72 hours means when someone applies on a Friday evening and you get in touch with them in due course of Monday, preferably Monday morning. When someone applies on a Tuesday, for example, you get in touch with them by Wednesday or by Thursday morning. And by the way, when you say, oh, sorry, we don't have enough people for that, we can't do that, it's impossible. Perfect. Someone else will get the talent. No one cares about your internal problems of, oh, we can't do that. You need to be in touch within 72 hours or less. Then, of course, you have a general first chat or you have an email exchange, whatever it is, get in touch. And then you have a first talk, a second talk, and then you make the decision. And here, hint to the UK and the US, is the efficiency that you're lacking. I see in the UK and the US that people go for round 1, round 2, round 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 80% of the people who they talk to are not relevant people they should have talked to. And for a very good reason, applicants are very annoyed by that. People put out the most absurd questions saying, oh, I'm very special with questioning. I have a very special technique. No, what you do is pseudoscience. Full stop. You just scare away, threaten, or just push away qualified applicants by your ego because you think everything has to align around me. Wake up call. The talent situation on the market is scarce. So maybe your organization has to adapt a bit more and not you make people adapt to you. So first talk, second talk, then the decision. If you now say, hey, we have a very valid method, and a valid method means it's tested by university, it's founded in science, and people, of course, get tremendous feedback, good or bad, of course, out of it, because as soon as people go through any kind of assessment center or technique or any kind of test you do, of course, they have the right to get the result. You cannot do a test and say, sorry, it's not you. Sorry, not you. Full stop. Not possible. You have to give in detailed feedback. When you hire for a beginner's position, you just check for knowledge and you can say, hey, look, you answered 50 questions. We expected 40 out of 50 right. You had 38. Sorry, we have to draw a line there. We need 80% correct. That is just the bare minimum of a good result. You are slightly below the bar. Just happy. We are happy when you reapply in 6 months, but it is not for you right now. That's perfectly fine. But when you use any kind of special technique, stay away from anything which is pseudo-scientific or which you simply like. So when you use, for example, personality tests, which in most cases are complete pseudoscience, or when you say, oh yeah, we always like to play Scrabble with our applicants, it shows so much about their personality. No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. It is just you enjoying to torture people in situations where they should sit with a scientific test or have a talk with a qualified person. As you see, I'm quite straightforward here because there's so much going wrong on the market and then companies are complaining afterwards. So first round of talk, second round of talk, then the decision. Maximum is a third round when you have any kind of specific, dedicated, scientifically proven and sound testing. By the way, when you want to have more rounds and you want to show them up on site, people will ask for money. That is completely understandable. You will pay them for the travel and you will pay them for their time. The higher the qualification of the applicant is, the most likely you will have to take into account to pay a significant amount of money. Information from the City of London. We just needed an internal consultant in an interim mandate, and we paid the person the travel from Birmingham to London and £500 for the time that it took. So you see the trend is going to pay people. By the way, signing bonuses, etc., to make people move quicker. Signing bonuses, which means when someone signs with you in a dedicated time frame. So, for example, you tell people, hey, when you decide in our favor within the next 72 hours, it's a couple of hundred or a couple of £1,000. Signing bonuses become more and more common. Always be proactive with your communication. When you now wonder who should be the people who take part in the recruiting process, there are two main aspects you need to consider. Number one, are they necessary? Or is it just people putting their ego on display, people who like to hear themselves talking, or people who simply want to be part of recruiting to say, I do recruiting here, and that's why I want to have a salary raise. So if people are not necessary, leave them out. If in doubt, leave them out. General rule. And the second one is people need to be professionally trained on interviewing. When you've never done a professional class on professional interviewing, and of course people will say, hey, Niels, where did you learn it? Professor Susan Silby, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, not the worst institute to learn that, I can admit. So when you're not professionally trained, then you will not be able to conduct a proper interview. For the rare case, but well, not that rare anymore today, when you, for example, get someone signed up to your company, but they say, hey, I have a clause in my contract that between my former employer and my next employer, there must be a 3-month pause, competitors clause or whatever it is. When people have a certain time frame, which is longer than just a week or two, or 2 to 4 weeks, let's say that, or probably 2 weeks is the shortest I would let people go with no communication. So as soon as you have a certain gap in between the prior engagement and the next one, then always be in touch with people. There's always the risk that someone jumps in and takes the candidate off you. So be sure that you constantly communicate with them. By the way, it is very common now to have welcome packages. People get sent to their homes with nice goodies, maybe an intro, maybe a computer, an iPhone, whatever else you give them for their work. So send them these welcome packages so they feel welcome with your company. When you are a fashion brand, of course, easy. You can send them products as well. When you produce, I don't know, cars, maybe a bit more challenging in that case. But very important is keep in touch. Always keep in touch in due course of the whole application process. By the way, if you wonder how much time you have to get the best applicants on the market, from first contact to signing the contract, it's 28 days or less, and the time is getting shorter and shorter. So you have to be quick. When you are slow and you say, oh, sorry, we are so small, we don't have enough staff, so we are slow, or you just twist it the other way around, say, oh, sorry, we're so big, that's why we're so slow, no one cares. People just like when people care. So when someone else is quicker, they feel this person cares about me the most. And when that person cares the most, I will care about them. It's called reciprocity. It's your job to be quick. Last aspect here, and the most important one, is leadership. So first, stop to torture HR, listen to HR. Way too often we had leaders who say, oh, I want this. And when HR said, that's not the best method now, and then they say, oh, HR is just chasing trends. No, trends just change very quickly. It is possible that you have a communication channel, which is the trend in January. So you put your job ads on there, and 6 months later, it's something completely different. So always support HR. They are the experts. They have the ear to the market. They know what's happening there. Listen to HR. When now as a leader you say, but every time I listen, they want more money. Yes, and that will not change. Just imagine when you are a talented person on the market and you are open for job offers, you get bombarded with job ads every single day. It's not possible to go anywhere on social media or anywhere on the internet without being in touch with people who want to hire you, as long as you have any kind of relevant qualification. So as soon as you have that, you have to understand that it's very hard to get through the noise and to be seen and to be heard by these people, because you do not want to have the leftovers from the market. You want people who are good at their jobs but willing to change and switch to your company, your organization, work for you. To get through the noise and get in touch with people who you want to hire is expensive, and it gets more expensive every year because it becomes harder to be seen and heard through all the noise on the market. Be aware that these budgets only know one direction, and the direction is up. So the last bit here for leaders is please stop to do N=1 evidence. That's how Francis Beedis from Harvard Business School calls it. You only have to go by real evidence. I give you an example how it should not be. An HR person presents why you should use social media to recruit your next trainees, because that's where trainees hang out, on social media, basically all day. And the leader said, look, I don't know anyone who ever got a job via social media. And then the leader continues and says, well, I also asked my board level members, and they don't know anyone as well. So no one of us knows anyone. By the way, I also asked our department leaders, more than 30 people, and no one of them knows anyone. So that's just a trend, is all nonsense. We just put job ads out there. maybe you don't know anyone who got their job via social media for a certain reason because you are not part of that target audience. If people say, I go by my gut feeling, or they label the gut feeling experience, which in this case it clearly isn't, it's just ignorance. When you do n equals 1 evidence, or n plus a couple of your mates evidence, then you shouldn't be surprised that results are catastrophic. And by the way, when you put the blame on blame on whole generation. So, for example, you say, "Oh, all these new generation people, Gen Zs, are all very difficult. No one wants to work anymore." If you put that phrase out there, "No one wants to work anymore," I did a bit of work for you here. I asked 3 historians who I know, 2 of them professors at university, if they could look into their digital corpus, their digital archives, to find the very first time when this phrase was said. So, in ancient Rome, Seneca and Pliny the Younger already complained about everyone being lazy. By the way, that was just roughly 1,000 years. It was first century. So it was the first century. In the very first century after in the Common Era. Sorry, we don't use the before and after anymore. So Common Era, first century, in old Rome, they complained about people being all lazy, no one wants to work anymore. And here's the hint. That was not the first time when it was mentioned. Before that, they found papyrus in ancient Egypt. That's more than 1,200 years before before the Common Era. And already there, they complained. And another hint, this was still not the first time when they mentioned that. 2,000 years before the Common Era is when they found writings where a manager complained about the lack of work ethics of his workers. That was 2,000 years before the Common Era, or some people say before Christ was born, but we do BCE and CE now. So 2,000 years before the Common Era, people already complained. By the way, that was found in the city of Ur, which is in today's Iraq area. So if we start there and we move to today, for 4,000 years, anyone was just lazy. Well, looking from 4,000 years ago till today, I can tell you we did quite well so far. And also, there's another massive problem. When you have any kind of leader in your organization who said no one wants to work anymore, these people are unsuitable to lead organizations. These people are unsuitable to lead teams. These people are unsuitable to lead departments or anyone. These people are unsuitable to lead corporations, companies, or organizations into a sustainably successful future. Either they get properly trained and change their attitude very quickly, or they need to be removed. Because when they still say the problem is with the other people, and believe me, I'm a self-employed entrepreneur, I have enough issues with work ethics of certain people, and you know what? I shut up about that because that never solved anything. Never a single talent said, "Oh, thank you very much for insulting me. Now I'm really interested in working for you." You will be the company which ends up on Kununu or Glassdoor.com, where people say, outdated management, outdated leadership, don't apply here, move on as quick as you can. And by the way, then you will complain how unjust that statement was, and hint, you're wrong with that. So how can we take all that together? Aspect number 1, do what you can do by yourself when you're professionally qualified, but give away anything you cannot do by yourself. If you want to know the agency I'm talking about, just drop me an email. I'm not going to put advertising on my podcast here. Aspect number 2, keep your application process quick and efficient. Keep it lean, keep it quick, because you have a very narrow time frame to win talents for you. And aspect number 3, leadership is important. Leaders need to support the organization, and they need to support HR to do the right things in the right space at the right time, because only then you will be seen and heard by the talent. If you do all that, your organization will become way more successful with recruiting compared to what you do today. And I wish you all the best implementing that in your organization right now. When you now say, wow, that was quite something, and I think I have a couple of questions here, feel free to get in touch with me. If you like to get in touch, in the show notes of this podcast, you find 2 things. Number 1 is you find my email address, nb@nb-networks.com. You also find my LinkedIn. Feel free to get in touch there. On LinkedIn, you also find my email addresses. It's all public. Anything else? By the way, if you now say, hey, I don't have questions, I like someone to coach our leaders on interviewing or on our HR on recruiting, feel free to do that. just drop me an email and we take it from there. You also find all information on my new website, www.nb-networks.biz. The second aspect, which I always recommend to do, is go for our live sessions. We have live sessions. However, when you want to know when the live sessions are, you have to go to expert.nb-networks.com. You will also find that in the show notes of this podcast. And then you can register for the leadership letter. You receive only one email every Wednesday morning. You get free access at no charge to all the articles I publish, which you could forward, for example, to leaders, your boss, etc., or to social media, wherever you want to put it. You get free access to any other resource where I publish my content. And also, you get free access to our live sessions. However, you only find the next date for the live session and how to access it in the leadership letter. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. It's 100% content at free guarantee. The third aspect, however, is the most important one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive aspect coming out of it and moving your organization to a sustainably successful future. I wish you all the best doing that. I'm available for help 24/7, so feel free to contact me anytime. And at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.